It was another awesome trading week this past week. Here's a few trades from the daily market breakdown videos with the Diamond membership. Now let's get right into this week's Forex Forecast. As always, starting the Forex Forecast off with the US dollar index COT report. The past week the banks got rid of 404 long contracts and they also got rid of 908 short contracts. We will do a top-down approach here starting from the weekly chart. Just wanted to point out, I know for those of you who've been following me for a while now, I've been talking about how we are basically in the middle of supply and demand. So it's on as far as the weekly chart goes. So it's definitely confusing times. The question is, where are we headed? You know, if we were up here closer to supply, I would say we're probably headed to supply. If we were closer down to demand, I'd say we're probably, headed down to demand, or probably going to contact demand. But we're in the middle. It's definitely difficult to tell. We can't really tell when we're on this time frame. That's why we need to go down to a lower time frame. If we go down to a daily chart, I know that's not a super low time frame, but there's also really no indication here. Yes, the overall momentum, it definitely was to the upside. If we were to draw some sort of momentum line like this, that's what it would look like. I'm going to draw it in red right now for you guys. So that's what the momentum line would look like. And if you look, we clearly, have broken momentum. We broke below it. So that's definitely a sign that we could be going lower. So now we actually have to go down to even lower time frames to see what's taking place. If you look at a 4-hour chart here, last week I was talking about this. We actually broke below this demand zone and created a low, which created a pretty nice looking 4-hour downtrend, and I was actually expecting price to continue to go down. I was not expecting this move at all, because when we have a downtrend, I have to basically go with that trend until we are proven wrong. And essentially, we were proven wrong. Price immediately broke the low, basically immediately pushed back up, broke through supply and the downward trend line on the 4-hour chart. So we actually have demand located at 106.27 on the 4-hour chart. This is pretty low quality demand in my opinion. And the demand that's lower at 105.53 on the 4-hour chart, it's better demand, but it's a very obvious zone. And if we do push down here, I think we could actually kind of spike through it and maybe react to the upside, similar to what happened here where we did the same thing here. So I would definitely be cautious. I'm definitely not going to be too bullish the dollar if price does push down to here. I think that, there's going to be a lot of manipulation taking place, and it's been difficult to trade. I'm not going to sit here and say it's been very, very easy to trade. So what I am looking for now on the DXY is essentially the continuation move up where we break the high here. We create a trend line on the 4-hour chart, and we actually have a 4-hour uptrend again. That would be the ultimate signal that the dollar is actually going to be going to the weekly supply. So to zoom back out again, if this takes place on the 4-hour chart where we create the 4-hour uptrend, is that not good evidence to suggest that we are probably going back up to weekly supply rather than back down to weekly demand? It absolutely is good evidence. Now, like I said, the last week we actually broke and created a 4-hour downtrend, so we were expecting to go back down to demand, but obviously we were proven wrong, and now it looks like we could be headed back up there, but not just yet. So we really have no trend on the 4-hour chart or the 1-hour chart yet. So that is essentially what we are waiting for on the dollar to start trading the high odds setups. It doesn't mean we're not going to find any setups on any pairs this week, but as far as having the most confidence in your system when you're trading, you want to make sure you are trading with the trend. So really just waiting for a trend over here on the 4-hour chart or even on the 1-hour chart to begin. On to the forecast for the euro US dollar. The past week, the banks added 1,256 longs, and they also got rid of 1,587 short contracts. So looking at the daily chart here first, I just want to show you guys that obviously this is the reverse of the dollar, but the momentum is overall to the downside. Yes, we are kind of pulling back up here in this matter of trading here in the sequence of time, but the overall momentum is down. So I essentially am kind of favoring shorts here in the euro US dollar. If you go to a 4-hour chart, this 4-hour demand is still holding. This is a 4-hour demand zone that I pointed out a couple forecasts ago. I'm not sure if anybody remembers this zone, but essentially it is still holding. This would be the ultimate sign that we are going to continue to go down. The best sign would be not only the removal of this zone, but also this low from back here, because then we would have a 4-hour downtrend again. But in my opinion, since this zone has been tested once, twice, almost 4 times now, it's proven to be significant demand. And if we remove this zone, that would be significant in my opinion, and we can basically trade any supply, and we can basically trade short to any supply zone that is responsible for breaking this demand zone. So with that being said, this upward trend line I have is also holding. It's not great, we're spiking below it, but so far it is holding. It's definitely not a trend line I'd be interested in trading, but I also just wanted to point out that essentially the 4-hour trend is being respected, although very, very poorly it is being respected. So as far as trading the euro goes now, it is very difficult. Even on the 1-hour chart, we have, we had a 1-hour supply zone tested and tested again, and it worked out very well. So it's very difficult. There's really no fresh zones for me to point out here in the euro. So like I said on the 4-hour chart, we're just going to have to wait for a significant push to the downside where we break demand, for a signal to go short, and then a signal to go long would actually be the removal of the high on the 4-hour chart, or the creation of a clean looking 1-hour uptrend. At that point, looking for day trading longs in the euro could be okay. All right, on to the forecast for gold. The past week, the banks added 20,000 long contracts and they got rid of 16,590 short contracts. Top-down approach here on the weekly chart. If you guys have been following me for the past couple months, you guys know I've been talking about this weekly demand for so long now, and yes, there have been some news events going around in the world, but at the end of the day, we have a weekly demand zone that I've been pointing out for a while that has held very, very well so far. We are pushing up, but we need to be very, very cautious here on gold because we are starting to approach the previous highs here. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'll be straight up. I do personally think we will be going to all-time highs on gold. I don't see, based on news events, how we're not. I usually don't let that manipulate my trading, and I'm not. I'm just speaking for like long term. It doesn't mean I'm just buying gold. I'm just saying I do personally think we will be going to all-time highs, and if we do, we will have a beautiful weekly uptrend here, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. Hopefully, we can push up and break the highs, but I'm just saying, since we are kind of at the highs right now, we could definitely start to see gold kind of pull back a bit, and we need to start to trade with caution here on gold. Now, as far as gold goes now, we have a 4-hour uptrend. So what that means is longs are great on a day trading time frame. As long as we have this momentum and 4-hour trend to the upside, I think looking for longs is going to be completely fine on day trading time frames. As far as the 1-hour chart goes, you can see back here, we actually had an amazing trade off of this 1-hour demand zone. This was a trade that I pointed out in the daily market breakdown videos for the Diamond members. And just recently, I just hit 15,000 subscribers here on YouTube. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. This has been a crazy journey, not just the not just the trading journey, but the YouTube journey as well. So just want to say I appreciate everyone for subscribing and for 15,000 subscribers. And for the 15,000 subscribers, I want to offer you guys 15% off for the Diamond membership. And this 15% off is good for the next 2 months. So you'll get 15% off for the next 2 months. There's only 20 spots, and it is available to join until October 31st next week. So 15,000 subscriber giveaway, 15% off, only 20 spots available till next week, October 31st. Would happy to see you guys join the team and capitalize on this sale. And again, appreciate every single one of you guys. Let's keep going on. So as far as gold goes now, great trade off of not only this zone, but this zone as well. This one was not in the daily market breakdown video, but this was actually a zone I ended up drawing. But as far as the 1-hour chart goes now, we actually just broke this 1-hour supply again and created this 1-hour demand. And not only that, a pretty nice looking 1-hour uptrend here as well. So that is a very, very bullish sign. I was kind of expecting gold to start to turn around here, but I mean, look, when demand zones are being respected, we definitely have to respect that, right? So the 1-hour trend to the upside, we could definitely be looking for longs, but we got to be careful. This is a very, very aggressive push up. If we do pull back down to the zone, it could be below the trend line, so we need to be a little bit cautious of that. And this could just kind of, since the highs are right here, this could just be like a fake out and a bigger pullback, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, the trends are up. I think day trading longs are fine, especially as long as we have this 1-hour uptrend, guys. Day trading longs to the upside are going to be okay. But what I'm kind of expecting, since I do expect we're going to go to all-time highs, I'm kind of thinking we need a deeper pullback. And in my opinion, if we do pull back down to this daily demand, it's still a good area to look for longs at. So what I'm saying is be careful. We could be kind of being manipulated to get in long, since we had a pretty aggressive push up, as you can see the size of this green candle. So we need to be trading with caution and make sure that that 1 hour uptrend is still holding in order to continue to look for longs. But look, if we push back on gold and we start to fall again, I'm not worried. We have tons of demand down below on the daily chart as a backstop, and I'm very, very bullish on gold. On to the forecast for the USDJPY. The past week, the banks got rid of 5,204 long contracts, and they also got rid of 2,175 short contracts. Remember, we are inside of weekly supply on the USDN. Very, very deeply tested though, so not really expecting price to fall that much. But if you look on a daily chart here, yes, the overall trend is to the upside, but I don't really look at individual candles. In my opinion, we need to be looking at the bigger perspective, not just individual candles. But I mean, you can see here, it's a pretty big red candle in the USD yen here. Pretty bearish sign in my opinion. It's going to look more severe on a lower time frame. Obviously, on this time frame, it doesn't look like much, but I just want to point out that to me, it does look like we could be pulling back. But we can't just be looking at one candle, right? We need to be really looking at the lower time frames. So it could be looking like we're pulling back, but look at the 4 hour chart here. So we have a trend line here on the 4 hour chart that is still holding on the USD Japanese yen. Yes, we have currently peaked below it. At the time of this recording, in my opinion, it's still holding, but if the candle closes like this, it will be broken. So we need to be making sure that we are looking at the lower time frame trends. And I say lower time frame when I'm looking at a 4 hour chart, I obviously mean lower time frame compared to a weekly chart or a monthly chart. We need to make sure that this trend is holding, and currently it looks like it is breaking. So it's a little bit confusing right now. The yen, honestly guys, it's been so choppy. Look at these huge wicks. I don't like it. It's been so weird, wicking into supply. It's been all over the place. Yes, the trend is up, but I highly doubt anybody's been profitable trading the USD yen lately because it's been very, very difficult. So really not one on my list to personally trade this week. If we break that 4 hour if we break that 4 hour uptrend, that could be a sign we're headed back down to daily demand at 148. And at that point, okay, I think looking for shorts could be okay because, okay, it's a profit margin trade. You are acknowledging we have profit margin. It is essentially a counter trend trade, but it could be okay as long as you look to take profit around that daily demand. So definitely just going to be focusing on this 4 hour chart, the 4 hour time frame, to see what's going on and to see if that 4 hour uptrend is still holding. On to the GBPUSD. The past week, the banks added 1,582 long positions, and they also added 9,000 short positions. Now, daily chart here, remember, overall momentum is up, but similar to the euro, we have kind of lost momentum here. But just remember, we cannot just hyper focus in on a small amount of time frame like this. We need to be looking at the overall picture, and the overall picture is down, although yes, we are kind of going sideways right now. But with the overall picture being down, I think favoring shorts is going to be okay. And I mean, on the 4 hour chart, we are currently respecting this supply zone at 1.21 on the 4 hour chart there. And we have a 4 hour downtrend. So I think as long as this 4 hour time frame is holding this downtrend, I think looking for day trading shorts is going to be completely fine. So 4 hour downtrend, day trading shorts all the way here on the GBPUSD. Beautiful 4 hour downtrend. The 1 hour chart essentially isn't a downtrend as well, although we kind of are just going sideways here. If we get a pretty nice break down, leaving us with 1 hour supply, we could look to short at that 1 hour supply as well. But as far as the pound goes, guys, I'm not going to lie, the past couple weeks in the pound and the euro have not really been that great as far as setups go. The setup has already kind of taken place here on the GBPUSD 4 hour chart. But with the 4 hour supply and control, 15-minute, 5-minute day trade shorts are certainly okay as we look to potentially break the low here on the daily chart on the pound. USDCAD forecast. The past week, the banks added 786 longs, and they also added 686 shorts. This is a confusing time where we are at the high of the weekly chart right now. So we got to be cautious here on the USDCAD. But on the daily chart, we have such a nice looking daily uptrend. This is a picture perfect daily uptrend. You can't really ask for more than this. We could be looking for pullbacks down to daily demand at 1.37. On the daily chart, I think that would be okay. And as far as the lower time frames go, we have 1 hour demand zones, being respected, holding. We have very nice looking 1 hour upward trend lines in play as well. Going to go ahead and update my trend line right there. That is the new 1 hour upward trend line. So definitely looking great with this 1 hour uptrend. That means day trading longs are going to be okay. So on a 5 minute, 1 minute time frame, longs are going to be okay as long as price is above this 1 hour trend line that you see on my charts. I think day trading longs is going to be okay. If we do pull back down to this 4 hour demand, this is the nearest 4 hour demand at 1.38. I think we could see a move off of that 4 hour zone. If we do pull back during the week and it's a daily market breakdown video, I will probably point out the confirmation on a day trading time frame where we can get a higher risk reward on a lower time frame inside of the zone if we do pull back to that. So that's really all I'm looking for here on the USDCAD. We already got a beautiful trade from all the way down here at this zone. I pointed this one out last week as well, but we finally achieved the 5-to-1 move off of this 4 hour zone on the USDCAD. So just a beautiful trade off of demand, and we are essentially looking to do the same thing at this demand zone on a lower time frame as well. So trends are pointing to the upside on the USDCAD here on the daily, 4 hour, and the 1 hour chart. If you look again on my 4 chart layout, uptrend, uptrend, uptrend. It's longs all the way here on the USDCAD. And like I said, even if we start to pull back to like the 1.37 area, we still have daily demand that we could be looking for longs in. But remember, we are kind of at the high on the weekly chart, like I said. So it could be one of those times where you look to be more aggressive with your take profit or you risk less, right? If this was taking place kind of down at demand rather than at the highs, then I would say we could look for a massive move. So I'm not expecting, massive crazy moves in the USDCAD here. Although, yes, we could kind of break out here of these highs. We need to be trading with caution because we are at those highs. But at the end of the day, with the trend to the upside, we definitely need to continue to look for longs here in the USDCAD. On to the forecast for the Aussie US dollar. The past week, the banks got rid of 3,547 longs, and they also got rid of 1,205 short contracts. Just like the pound, just want to point out that the overall trend and momentum on the daily chart here is to the downside, but it hasn't been easy to trade. Yes, the momentum is the downside. It means we want to be shorting, but if you just look, it's been so choppy. This period of time, guys, since really the start of September, has not been easy to trade. I will not sit back here and say it's been really easy to trade, guys, super easy, really clear, really obvious. I'm not going to say that. It's just been so choppy. Yes, the overall momentum is to the downside, but shorts have been hard to get. I'm not going to lie. We haven't really gotten pullbacks up to supply. I mean, we had a beautiful 4 hour supply zone at 0.64. Could not quite get the pullback up to here. I still think it is a somewhat decent area to look for a short in. At that supply zone, it's all right. Confirmation on a lower time frame, like a day trading time frame, would probably be your best friend in that area, since it'll be above the trend line. But with the overall momentum being to the downside, I think we could definitely look for shorts. So what would I actually be doing looking for shorts? So we actually already got a nice little day trade here in the 50-minute chart off of that zone right there. But clearly on the 1 hour chart, we are starting to lose momentum here. So with that being said, on your day trading timeframes, with this momentum loss kind of here on the 1 hour chart, breaking below the momentum line, I think it would be okay to look for pullbacks to supply zones to the downside on day trading timeframes, especially since the overall trend is to the downside on the 4 hour chart. So on the Aussie US dollar, I am kind of expecting price to continue down. So that's what I'd be looking for here on the Aussie, just continuing to look to trade with the overall 4 hour and daily downtrend. On to the forecast for the USD Swiss. The past week, the banks got rid of 2,503 long contracts, and they also got rid of 520 short contracts. Now, the USD Swiss has been really, really good to us lately. It's been a little confusing. I did kind of think we were pulling back down to this weekly demand at 0.88, but I mean, if you look at it, to me, it looks like we are headed back up strong. But on the daily chart, we are actually into daily supply. Now, we have tested it over 3/4 of the way, so I am kind of expecting it to break. But it definitely could be one of those times where we pierce through something like that and pull back. We definitely are going to have to monitor the lower time frames and the US dollar as well. Now, we did get a pretty aggressive but awesome little trade here on the 1 hour chart. We had the break of the downward trend line, which left us with this 1 hour demand zone. Boom. What a trade off that 1 hour zone. Over 5-to-1, well achieved there. This was an aggressive setup because we were not inside of any daily demand, but there was profit margin on the higher time frames, and I explained to members clearly that there's profit margin we could be looking for long. So beautiful trade off that 1 hour zone there. Had another zone here on the 1 hour chart. That's really the only zone I see. If we do pull back all the way down to this 1 hour zone, it could be decent at 0.89. I think it would be all right. But at the end of the day, the momentum's so strong, I'm really not seeing any evidence of the USD Swiss turning around. So I think it's day trading longs all the way here on the USD Swiss, at least up to this 4 hour supply level at 0.90 right here. So we could there's a little bit of profit margin left to 4 hour supply. At that point, we can maybe switch to a potential short trade on a day trading timeframes. But at that point, I would definitely look to potentially take profits as we contact supply at 0.90 on the 4 hour chart. On to crude oil, last but not least. The past week, the banks added 7,687 longs, and they also added 13,310 shorts. We will do a top-down approach here on the weekly chart. Weekly supply is in control on oil, but we tested it so deep, we did pierce above it. I don't call that removed for reasons I'm not going to get into in this forecast video. This is not a lesson video, this is a forecast video, so we'll move on from that, but I'm not calling that removed, and the supply is currently still holding. Now, oil has been tricky to trade. It has not been on my list. We did get a beautiful trade a couple weeks ago in oil, but as of now, I'm looking at the daily chart, we were just going sideways. We reacted nicely off of daily demand. I'm sure some of you guys remember that one. We basically plowed through daily supply. I didn't plow through, but we kind of hesitated and broke through supply. And now we're kind of just basing out, going sideways. Where is oil headed? I really don't know. It is very, very difficult to tell. So what does that mean? That means we have to monitor the lower time frames. Well, if you look at a 1 hour chart, the overall trend, in my opinion, is somewhat down. But I'm actually going to remove that because we are going so sideways right now. It's very difficult to tell. A lot of wicks, really whippy price action, but this 1 hour demand at 84.45 is currently still holding. It could be a bullish sign. I really don't know. If you want to get in long, we have profit margin up to 88.69 to this 4 hour supply, where we could then potentially switch to a short trade. But I just want to caution you guys, there's no trend here on this 4 hour chart. So this zone, the odds of this zone working, I don't know. It's not the best. When there's a downtrend, I would say for sure this is a good zone, high probability zone. But there's really no trend here, so this zone we need to be taken with a grain of salt. But it is the only 4 hour supply I see that's the nearest to price at 88.69. So that's really the only 4 hour supply zone I see. Tricky price action here on oil. Really no trends. Momentum is up on the weekly chart, but really no trends on any time frames right now. So in my opinion, oil definitely not one to be trading until we can get a nice 4 hour uptrend or a nice 1 hour uptrend. But like I said, if you want to jump the gun on longs with this 1 hour demand respecting, it's kind of a bullish sign. We could be getting in long, like I said, up to 4 hour supply at 88.69. If you guys want to watch the full length forecast with all the other markets, make sure to subscribe to the channel membership to get access.